As much as I hate to admit it, I have bitten off way more than I can chew with this whole shop project, specifically talking about the custom side of things. Originally, when we bought the shop, my goal was to have a general automotive repair business and do some fun stuff like engine swaps and, builds and all that type of stuff on the side. So I took on a few projects. Specifically, we're talking about the Wagoneer LS swap that we have been in the middle of for over 6 months. So we are going to fix that, and I have decided that starting in January, which it is now, I'm not going to be doing any more of my own projects until we get this Wagoneer out the door. It's been here for way too long. I've been very blessed to have a busy shop and plenty of work to do, but unfortunately the day-to-day repair stuff just kind of ends up taking precedence, and the fun stuff gets pushed to the back burner, which it doesn't deserve. So I apologize to Randy, the owner of the Wagoneer, because we should have had this thing done a long time ago. So what you're about to see is a couple different things. We are finishing up some of the cooling system stuff. We did a little bit of fabrication, but nothing was finalized. So we'll wrap up the cooling stack and then talk about life at work. And then we found out some interesting and potentially heartbreaking news about the UglyTruck. All right, quick update. It's always good to get a few things checked off the list when you're doing a project like this. And I know the Wagoneer has dragged on way too long, and that's totally my fault. I feel bad about this, but one of the side effects to a long-term project is you get started on stuff, then you never really finish. So this is like, we've had a lot of the cooling system mocked up, but now it's in for good, never has to come out again. So the customer supplied this aluminum radiator with fan. I did have to build the harness, which you can probably see. We got 2 relays, low speed, high speed operation there. We got a vent tube built. I don't think I showed you that. But then we've got the trans cooler and the AC condenser all mounted up. Got the brackets all painted. So once the grill is on, this will be covered up permanently. The only other things I had to modify is there was actually a little notch there, which I modified, made just a little bit larger. We're going to have a 90 6AN there and a straight 6AN there, and I got the little cushion clamp right there in the middle, so the hose will kind of, come down, go there, and then they'll both pass down, go underneath the engine and back towards the transmission. Also, the electrical stuff, I don't think I've shown you a lot of this, but just stuff like building battery cables. We got power distribution. We've got a connector here for the fan harness, which is not terminated yet. That goes down to the Holly. Ground cables. And just a bunch of tidying up and finishing permanently things that we kind of got started on. So we'll get back to the Wagoneer in a little bit. I am also having to do double duty today. We've got a caravan in the shop, and this is just kind of like repairing mouse damage. This is weird because we've had a couple of vehicles recently in that mice have chewed up random wiring bits on, and weirdly enough, one of those vehicles had one of those anti-mice, high-pitched sonar beeping things. Anyway, didn't work. On this vehicle, the mice have attacked pretty much all the headlight harness. So there's 1, 2, and 3 pigtails over here that we had to redo, and there was 3 over on that side as well. So we're just kind of, you know, reconnecting wires. We got the bumper cover off for easy access. So I'll get this wrapped up and knocked out, and I think there's a few other things maybe I'll make really brief mention of as we get to them. I think there's a fuel pump I got to do on an Explorer later, a few other odds and ends. But the main objective and the main push for me anyway is try to get this thing done over the next couple of weeks, probably months realistically. But just a little progress at a time, that's all we can do. That's how many hours there are in the standard work week here in the United States, at least. That's about how many hours the shop is open. But let me tell you, it does not seem like enough. If I had 80 or 100 hours in a week to do business, I still don't feel like I would get everything done. But it's been an interesting week. So right now, 5:06 p.m. on a Friday. I had every intention of working on the Wagoneer multiple times this week because I promised the customer that I'm going to be making more progress on it. We have a little bit of headway. We went over that earlier in the video. I think, I'm pretty sure Monday was the last day that I actually touched that thing. So this week in the shop, it's been pretty busy. I've been basically working as a mechanic all week, just doing regular day-to-day work, which owning a business like this, it's my job to fill in rather when things get really busy. So yeah, that's kind of what I've been doing just about all the week. Like over here, we got an Expedition. I did a fuel pump in that. This is a job Chris is doing. He's doing a water pump, rack and pinion, and a couple other leak repairs. Over here, we've got a fancy Durango, as Chris calls it. It's a Chrysler Aspen, I think. But I like fancy Durango much better. Anyway, we're doing a bunch of fluid changes on this thing, tune-up. Of course, being a Hemi, it's got 16 spark plugs. We did trans fluid R&R. Over here, we have an XJ Cherokee. And so this afternoon, I finished up the tune-up on the fancy Durango, and I was like, I can throw the back shocks on this thing and just kind of head home early. But of course, you know, things never go quite according to plan. This Jeep, I don't know if it's been in Colorado its whole life or not. Usually cars don't get too rusty here, but this one definitely it was a little bit rusty. So of course the upper shock bolts, they twisted right off. So I spent a bunch of time on this side. I actually drilled out the inserts because I could not get them. I couldn't get them out. I couldn't like retap them or anything like that. So I just drilled out the inserts and actually welded a nut back up into the shock mount because it's one of those unibody cars where, you know, you can't quite get to the back. So that took pretty much the whole afternoon just installing the shocks, which I was like, yeah, it'll be quick and easy and we'll be on our way. So this customer, they're kind of pulling this Jeep out of hibernation. It's been sitting for many years and they want to daily drive it again. So we're just kind of going through, there's quite a bit of front end parts which are pretty loose, which we want to make sure we tighten up, you know, for safety and all that good stuff. Had some really old, really dry rotted BFG all-terrains on there, so we replaced those. My goodness, the list just like goes on. And the 40 hours that we have in this work, they have gone by in a blur, and I feel like I'm still behind. Very blessed to have a shop that is busy, and we have cars, you know, coming out the gills or whatever they say, but my goodness, my ambitions of maintaining the YouTube channel and custom projects, unfortunately, those they take a back seat. Anyway, that's all for now, unless I think tomorrow, you'll see at the end of the video if it happens, but I've found a bed that I can get for the four-wheel drive drag truck and possibly some front fenders and an HD hood. So if that all works out, it'll be right now. If not, thanks for watching and come back soon. All right, guys, it's Saturday coming at you from the home garage. And there's like two unfortunate things that just happened. Number one, the truck bed that I mentioned a second ago, the guy never called me back, so we didn't end up going to get that. But number two, we might have just witnessed the death of the UglyTruck. Maybe. It's too soon to tell. So Saturday, it's a beautiful morning. We took the truck out for a little rip, doing the usual, you know, big block shenanigans. And I went for probably a 40, 50 mile drive, something like that. Just, you know, going for a cruise, having fun, enjoying the weather, enjoying the sun. And when I came back, I parked in the garage like usual, didn't notice anything. The wife and I went out to lunch, and then on the way back into the garage, I noticed a big puddle underneath. Hopped out real quick, realized it was antifreeze coolant, not something you usually want to see on the ground underneath your truck. So I did all the usual checks, you know, hoses, cracked radiator, stuff like that. And it was none of those things. And I can't 100% tell where it's coming from, but you'll have to excuse the maze here as I fold that mirror in, kind of come back here. It's definitely a tight fit, in the home garage. Let's pop the hood here. So, yeah, turbo big block, loving life. And the coolant is coming from that side. It's one of two things. Either it blew a head gasket, which I'm kind of hoping it is, but at the same time, I'm a little bit doubtful just because I, just a minute ago, had the truck out in the driveway, jacked it up, crawled underneath, and I can see, for the most part, that seam between the head gasket and the block. And it doesn't look very wet there at all, but where the motor mount bolts to the block on the passenger side, it's like really wet right in there. So it's either coming from the head gasket from a spot that I can't see dripping down, or it's like a cracked block right where the motor mount bolts on. You know, that's coolant passages right through there. So I don't know exactly what it is yet. I tell you which one I'm hoping. I'm hoping it's just a head gasket, because if it's a block, that means, of course, well, I don't really know what that means. It means I need another block if I want to continue to drive this truck as it is. But yeah, this it's kind of too soon to know what I think, because it's definitely a major overhaul. Like I said, hopefully just a head gasket. Now, we did just have the heads off of this thing not too long ago, this summer, in fact. It's got some Cometic MLS head gaskets, pardon me. We just have some stock torque to yield head bolts. And I mean, this truck has been together for, we turboed it in 2020. Is it really 4 years? I think it is. It's like, yeah, we turboed the truck in late 2020. It's now 2024, so call it 3 years of constant abuse and shenanigans and fun. So anyway, most of that time the motor was stock. So again, we'll keep you updated. We'll do a full-blown video on it later on when we actually tear it apart and figure out what is leaking. But let me know down in the comments what you think it is. Definitely has nothing to do with the fact that we have a heavy right foot, tank full of ethanol, tons of timing, and a complete wanton disregard for traction and tires. But hey, that's the price we pay for hot rodding. I can't complain. In fact, the only thing I can complain about is just not having enough time to goof off. So that's going to end this video.